I'm Warren Sprouse. It's the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Love for you to join us live. Otherwise, there's the YouTube and Facebook and, other things. I want to share with you an article that was published by the managing director of MercedesBenz. I've entitled it, "Where's the World Headed?" In a recent review, the managing director of Daimler-Benz said their competitors are no longer other car companies. Instead, they see Tesla as the competitor. Now, that's obvious because Tesla makes cars. But they also see Google and Apple and even Amazon. Why? Well, as he said, because software will disrupt most traditional industries in the next 5 to 10 years. Because Uber is just a software tool. They don't own any cars and are now the biggest taxi company in the world. Because Airbnb is now the biggest hotel company in the world and they don't own any property. Because artificial intelligence, computers have become exponentially better in understanding the world. For example, this year a computer beat the best Go player in the world 10 years earlier than anyone expected. Because in the United States, young lawyers already don't get jobs. Why? Because of IBM's Watson. You can get legal advice, more or less basic stuff so far, within seconds with 90% accuracy, compared with 70% accuracy when done by a human. The conclusion? If you're studying law, stop. There will be 90% less lawyers in the future. Only specialists will remain. Also, Watson already helps nurses diagnosing cancer. It can do it 4 times more accurately than human nurses. Facebook now has a pattern recognition software that can recognize faces better than humans. In 2030, computers will become more intelligent than humans. He went on to say that autonomous cars are the car of the future. In 2018, the first self-driving cars will appear for the public. Around 2020, the complete industry will start to be disrupted. You won't want to own a car anymore. You will call a car with your phone. It will show up at your location and drive you to your destination. You will not need to park it. You only pay for the driven distance and can be productive while it's driving. Our kids will never get a driver's license and never own a car. It will change the cities because we will need 90 to 95% less cars. We can transform former parking spaces into parks. 1.2 million people die every year in car accidents worldwide. We now have one accident every 60,000 miles. With autonomous driving, that will drop to one accident every 6 million miles. This will save 1 million lives every year. Most car companies will probably become bankrupt. Traditional car companies try the evolutionary approach and just build a better car, while tech companies, Tesla, Apple, Google, will do the revolutionary approach and build a computer on wheels. Many engineers from Volkswagen and Audi are completely terrified of Tesla. Insurance companies will have massive trouble because without accidents, the insurance will become 100 times cheaper. The car insurance business model will disappear. So where will you live if you don't have to drive to work? Real estate will change. If you don't have to drive to work, you can work while you commute. And you're not even driving, so you have everything at your fingertips. You can move farther away from the big cities into beautiful neighborhoods. Electric cars will become mainstream by 2020. Cities will be less noisy because all new cars run on electricity. Did you see the new electric tractor trailer? 45-foot trailer hauling 45,000 pounds and weighing the truck itself, weighing probably 30,000 pounds. Electric. Electricity will become incredibly cheap and clean. Solar production has been on an exponential curve for 30 years, but you can now see the burgeoning impact. Last year, more solar energy was installed worldwide than fossil. Energy companies are desperately trying to limit access to the grid to prevent competition from home solar institutions. But that won't last. Technology will take care of that strategy. With cheap electricity comes cheap and abundant water. Desalination of salt water now only needs 2 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. 25 cents. We don't have scarce water in most places. We only have scarce drinking water. Imagine what will be possible if anyone can have as much clean water as they want for nearly no cost. A recent scientific report indicated there's a tremendous amount of potable water beneath the Earth's mantle. Science will find a way to extract that water when and if our water supply is sufficiently threatened. The Tricorder X will be announced next year. You remember tricorders? Just wave it in front of somebody and tell you all about it. Scotty had one, remember? Not Scotty, the doctor. There are companies who will build a medical device called a tricorder from Star Trek that works with your phone, which takes your retina scan, your blood sample, as you breathe into it. It then analyzes 54 biomarkers that will identify nearly any disease. It will be cheap, so in a few years, everyone on the planet will have access to world-class medical analysis almost free. Goodbye, medical establishment. 3D printing. The price of the cheapest 3D printer came down from $18,000 to $400 in 10 years. In the same time, it became 100 times faster. A major shoe company has already started 3D printing of shoes. Some spare airplane parts are already 3D printed in remote airports. The space station now has a printer that eliminates the need for a large amount of spare parts. At the end of this year, new smartphones will have 3D scanning possibilities. You can then 3D scan your feet and print your perfect shoe size or shoe at home. In China, they already use 3D printing and have built a complete 6-story office building. By 2027, 10% of everything being produced will be 3D printed. In business, if you think of a niche you want to go into, ask yourself, in the future, do you think we'll have that? And the answer is yes. Then how can you make that happen sooner? Reality, if it doesn't work with your phone, forget it. And any idea designed for success in the 20th century is doomed to failure in the 21st. And work? 70 to 80% of jobs will disappear in the next 20 years. Oh, there'll be a lot of new jobs created, but it's not clear if there will be enough new jobs in such a small space of time. Agriculture, for example, there will be a $100 agricultural robot in the future. Farmers in the third world countries can then become managers of their field instead of working all day in their fields. Aeroponics will need much less water. The first Petri dish produced veal is now available and will be cheaper than cow-produced veal in 2018. Right now, 30% of all agricultural surface is used for cows. Imagine if we don't need that space anymore. There are several startups who will bring insect protein to the market shortly. It contains more protein than meat. It will be labeled as alternative protein source, primarily because most people still reject the idea of eating insects. In the area of psychology, there's already an app called Moody's, Moodies, which can already tell in which mood you're in. By 2020, there'll be an app that will tell by your facial expression if you're lying. Imagine a political debate where it's being displayed when they're telling the truth and when they're not. Money? Bitcoin may even become the default reserve currency of the world. Longevity? Right now, the average lifespan increases by 3 months every year. 4 years ago, the lifespan used to be about 79 years. Now it's 80. The increase itself is increasing. And by 2036, there will be more than 1 year of increase for every year of life. So we might all live for a long time, probably way more than 100. Education? The cheapest smartphones are already $10 in Africa and Asia. By 2020, 70% of all humans will own a smartphone. That means everyone has the same access to world-class education. Every child can use Khan Academy for everything a child needs to learn at school in first world countries. There have already been releases of software in Indonesia, and soon there will be releases in Arabic, Swahili, and Chinese this summer. What if we can give the English app for free so that children in other countries can become fluent in English? That could happen in the next 6 months. This is our new world. It's food for thought. And the question is, do you want to be part of it? We still have to buy groceries as long as we're not robots. But after that, everything's going to change. I believe it was not Rolls-Royce. One of the, who makes cars in Europe, I forgot the name of it. They plan to sell 20,000 cars to Uber. No, take that back. They're going to make 20,000 computerized cars, the cars that don't need drivers. That's what it is. And they're going to sell them to Uber and I guess whatever the other guy is, the big manufacturers. And that's starting in the next 2 years. The world is changing. Your kids don't understand why you think it's important to read that book or go to that school. One day, they'll be right.